The Packers play the Bears this weekend. And we've mentioned if there's ever a time to play the Bears for the Packers, it's when it's in a get-right spot. They had that coming off their bye week, in which they'd previously lost to the Lions in a big game at Lambeau Field. They had their bye, beat Chicago on the block kick. Things happen for the Packers against the Bears that don't happen for most teams. But since they are playing Chicago, it's a nice spot for them to bounce back. We put out a video on yesterday morning, about the Packers still being a dangerous 7th seed. And you'd read the comment section and you think they just got eliminated by losing 48-0 to Chicago or something. It is desperate in Green Bay. It's actually not even desperate. It's just sad. And I actually, people are saying, oh, you guys are just clickbait for your fan base right now. And I disagree with that. Like, I mean, we come on this show all the time and we talk about how we really feel about teams. Yeah, it's an optimistic take on the Packers, but just because they lost to the Vikings, a game that the Vikings controlled most of the way through, wound up being a 2-point game. I think it's crazy to just go and give up on the season and say, yep, we're going to get crushed by the Eagles. Like, that's it. I can't understand the flip-flopping of the Packers fans right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, this Packers team, by record, even if they lose to the Bears, they will be the best 7 seed by record in NFL history. And they're going to win to the Bears, so they will be. Pick any advanced metric you want, DVOA, whatever, I guarantee you they will be the best 7 seed in history by that metric, too. There's only been one 7 seed gone on the road and won a playoff game. And it was the Packers last year. So, again, acting like this team is somehow doomed or that we should give up on them, I'm kind of shocked to see the negativity. I get that Green Bay, it's blue skies. You guys don't know what it's like. Like, this is one of the worst seasons. I guess the Packers fans are acting like this is the worst season they've ever seen. It's not. We've seen worse. I remember watching Rodgers take a slide so they couldn't make it to the playoffs a few years ago. Like, this is not. People seemed higher on that team than this. I'm just baffled. Like, yeah, they're an on and off team. Sometimes the defense doesn't play great. Sometimes Jordan Love plays poorly. But sometimes they're great, too. They've had some of the best games in the NFL this season. They've played every contender basically within a score. They've had a chance to win almost every game they've been in. Like, why are you giving up on Jordan Love in this team?
Yeah,
are you spoiled?
That's the big thing with me, too, is I know that you can point out and say that they're 0-5 against other contenders, which is true. But there's a huge difference in being able to play with them and beat them versus there's just no chance. Like, we're not up there with these guys. And I hate to say it, a team like my Steelers is that second tier in the AFC. Like, if they go on the road to the Bills or Chiefs, it's over. But the Packers, they played a field goal game with the Lions in Detroit. They just came back in the game. They were dominated on the road in Minnesota with a chance to win in the final couple minutes, get one stop to get the ball back. They had a big lead on Philly, right? And then lost by a score. It's not like Green Bay has played these guys and
they're not getting housed.
Have just gotten housed and looked like by far the worst team. Green Bay is just as good as these guys when they can play, how they can play. I understand like going on the road to Philadelphia, then going on the road to, Minnesota or Detroit, then going on the road again. Like, it's
a hard path.
It's like unlikely, which is why they're upset, and I get it, because this team seems better than a 7 seed. But to just write them off completely, I mean, Green Bay could be any one of the teams standing in front of them in the playoffs. It'll be hard, but they could do it.
Yeah, I think you're right when you mentioned the path. If you have to go Eagles, Vikings / Lions, and then maybe Vikings / Lions, or you're going on the road. It's funny, the NFC Championship game could wind up being there.
But these are
their easiest opponent.
These are all teams they showed they can play with, and they're just as good as.
Yes.
It's not like the Broncos in the 7 going on the road to Buffalo. There's no chance the Broncos do anything as a 7 seed, but the Packers are a legitimate team who can.
It's, I was talking with my dad about this earlier today, and I understand where Packer fans are coming from, because if the Vikings had lost to Green Bay in week 17, I would have been sitting around going like, all right, season's over.
Like going to Philly.
Okay, now, no, I'm sorry, for the Vikings. Like, if I would have been as a Viking fan, I'd be going like, all right, well, now we're the 5th seed, probably going to go and lose to Tampa Bay. Even if we beat Tampa, we're then in all likelihood going to Philly or Detroit. Like, season's probably over. So this is part of the NFL effect of the week-to-week reaction where it might just take a couple days. By the time this video comes out, Packer fans are probably going to have convinced themselves, you know what? We hung with Philly week 1. We can beat them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's more just the raw reaction to losing a game. And when you were dominated the way the Vikings dominated Green Bay for 3.5 quarters, it's easy to look at that and go, why should I believe we can go to Philly, who might even be better than Minnesota, and do this? But I think every point you just said, Jack, is that they have the ability to hang with them. And what Ziggy said yesterday, the ceiling of Jordan Love might just be the highest of any NFC quarterback outside of outside of Matt Stafford to me. So when you have that kind of ace in your sleeve with Jordan Love, if he shows up, then that's when they could get hot like last year. And they should have gone to the NFC Championship game last year. They were better than San Francisco in that game. You need Jordan Love to get right. And hey, again, you're playing the Bears. Get right against the Bears and then go into Philly, and Philly won't want to see you.
And the Packers were down 27-10 in Minnesota with 7 minutes left?
6.5 minutes left. We were sitting on the couch. I was sipping a beer. You, Jack, were like, we'll see if they're driving down. And I went, it's over. Even I, as a Viking fan,
I thought it was over as well. But they're one of how many teams in the league who make that a game?
Not many. Well, against the Vikings or against anyone could do it against the Vikings.
I mean, I'm just picturing, like, you compare the likely 7 seeds, right? Like, imagine if the Broncos are down 27-10 on the road and it was 7 minutes left. Like Green Bay,
it's not happening.
Green Bay can be so explosive and could arguably have the best quarterback in football, top 3 quarterback in football when he's really clicking.
That's a little generous, but very good.
Like we've seen him at his highs, and he's remarkable. So there's not anybody who wants to play this team either. I bet you Philly's sitting back going, "Oh crap, Green Bay is the 7, really?"
Yeah, that's our reward for the 2 seed.
Yeah.
And you have to remember as well, in our power rankings, we had them number 7, not 7th seed, but 7th best team
in the NFL.
So.
And you could put them higher.
So Packers fans, you had them higher, right? Ziggy, you had them at 6, I think.
Yeah, we've said this a lot. I'll say it. Like, if a couple things go differently for the Packers, they win that game. You compare that, Jack, I think the Steelers are a great example. A couple things go differently for the Steelers versus the Chiefs. They lose by 2 scores instead of 3. A couple things go different for them against the Ravens. They lose like 24-37 or 24-34 instead of 17-34. A couple of things go different for the Packers versus the Vikings. They win, and every Packers fan is excited. So they've made the playoffs. They're locked in. If they won this game, it's not like they were hosting a playoff game, right? Maybe they're the 6 seed or the 5 seed, but like, Paul, in a 2-point game, you can't say if a couple things go differently for them, they don't win. Like, that's just where it is. A couple guys don't drop the ball, a penalty's not called, whatever.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah,
I think
they kicked.
You can't look at this game and count the Packers out the same way Jack's looked at the Steelers and has completely counted them out.
Yeah, Jack's flip on his flip on Pittsburgh.
I actually do think
kind of sad.
I actually do think the Najee fumble in Philly, if he doesn't fumble, we win the game. Like, I also do think if a couple things go our way in Philly and Baltimore, we actually.
I think the Ravens game, Russ had that fumble on towards the goal line. I actually thought that Raven
those
game
actually were not as bad blowouts as I am bringing them up to be.
Dude, the Steelers right now going to Houston is like
we'd win that game.
Should win
we would win that game. Yeah,
Houston's a mess.
I just have no
Ziggy choking on the game.
Really, the problem is I just have no faith in going to Buffalo or Kansas City.
I'm looking at the AFC and NFC wildcard games. Denver at Buffalo, Chargers at Baltimore, Pittsburgh at Houston. Like, I just have thank you, Ziggy. I know that was unintentional, but it should have been intentional. Like, I don't really care. I don't think those are great games.
I just saw a snot rocket there.
The Packers, Eagles, Commanders, Rams, Vikings, Bucks, I think are all really good games.